Good evening. Welcome to the MIF Open Day. And thank you, all of you out there, and especially our guest speakers, Peter, and uh, some of my dear students. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. The central focus of this, when I was asked to think about a theme for this session, immediately three things came to my mind. One was obviously the myth, second was the CFA, and third was, as in every sales pitch, when you do a sales pitch, when you present a teaser, at the end there's always credentials. And what better credentials than some of our ex-students that have gone through the program and that have done also, in the case of Begoña and Magda, the CFA. So before we start, I just want to mention a few key facts of the myth. Uh, right now, currently we're in our 13th year, our 13th offering. So we have already some years behind us. We have close to 250 ex-MIF around the world, most of them located here in Spain, working in Spain in the financial sector, but we do have people, and Begoña as an example, she's in Germany, and prior to that she was in London, and we have people in Latin America, all over the world. And the third thing, I'm not going to give you much more details about the program because you have sufficient information in our webpage. You can look at our brochure. But whenever I interview candidates for our program, I try to summarize the program using a formula. Probably you heard it when I interviewed you people. And the MIF for me is equal to CFP squared. And what do these four variables mean? One is the C is for coverage. What do we cover? And I like to think that we cover, if not all, most of the different fields in the world of finance. The F stands for faculty. Our faculty is composed a majority by practitioners, and practitioners are people that, they have not only the knowledge, but they have the real world experience. They are or have been in the trenches. They are or have been under real fire. The first of the P is practical. We try to make it as practical as possible. Obviously, we cover theory, but only the essential theory and the one that is really applied in the markets. And the fourth P stands for our partnerships. So we try to pitch in our program a little bit of exposure to the international markets, the financial markets, as it is seen through the eyes of people, of professionals working in three of the most important financial centers in the world. If somebody were to ask me what is the value added that the MIF program brings to the table, I would summarize it in three things. One, the tremendous knowledge base that it provides you. Second, that we actually simulate the real world. We were talking it before with the students here, that we try to make it real. It's not just going to class and that's it. This is a preparation also for what you're going to experience when you're out there in the real world. And third, it provides an in-depth preparation for the CFA certifications. And having said that, let me introduce Peter Watkins, who's the Director of University Relations at the Cfa Institute in the UK, who's going to describe CFA at a general level. Peter, all yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I think we've got some slides on their way.
Slides, Tania?
Presentación. The slides.
The slides. Ah.
Oh, it's just that.
Pero lo ibas a pasar tú.
There we go. Right.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Is that showing? Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And yes, I'll thank you again for inviting me. I'm delighted to speak to you today. I'm based in the UK, but I'm Director for University Relations for the whole Europe, Middle East and Africa region. So just a few things that I thought we would look at today before you move on and meet the very interesting guests who've already been through the MIF program. So a little bit about the Cfa Institute and the program, but more of a focus actually on careers and job roles and industry developments that I think are quite interesting at the moment. So if we have the next slide, please. Yeah, so just briefly, I don't know how much you know about Civ Institute or the program, but Civ Institute is a global association of investment professionals. And through its self-study program, the CFA program, you can achieve one of the highest distinctions in investment management, the CFA Charter. And it's very common and a very powerful combination to have studied a really strong academic Masters in Finance, Masters program, and then add to that the CFA Charter. As a combination, it's very, very employable and very powerful. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So the mission of the CFA Institute, we're a not-for-profit organization, and the mission is to lead the investment profession globally by promoting the highest standards of ethics, education, and professional excellence for the ultimate benefit of society. So it's a big goal, rather ambitious goal, and we try to achieve that in three ways. One through the CFA program, the Chartered Financial Analyst program, one through the membership that we have, that can be local membership and also membership of the CFA Institute globally, and also through what we call advocacy or promoting high standards in the industry, for example, ethical standards or standards for regulators to make the industry as efficient and effective as possible. Here's an example from a senior charter holder pointing out that the CFA Charter is often seen as a differentiator, a way to stand out and associate yourself with the top of the investment profession and be amongst those who have committed to the highest standards. Next slide, please. Thank you. So it's very much a global network, the CFA Institute. So we have more than 170,000, I think it's more than 180,000 charter holders all over the world. So they're in all financial centres. You'll find people working. And charter holders, that's the name of people who've worked through the CFA program and have got the CFA charter at the end of it. We have more than 300,000 candidates for the CFA program each year. We've had more than a third of a million in the previous financial year. This year's been difficult because of the pandemic. We have more than 150 CFA societies, and they're very important. That's where members locally on the ground, the practitioners that we were talking about earlier, practitioners come together, support each other, learn from each other, network, and often gain working opportunities through that networking. So our societies are very important to us. That's the local side of the CFA Institute rather than the global. And we'll talk a bit about the Spanish Society in a second. We've been around a long time, since 1947, so that's given us or made us part of the landscape of investment professionals for a very long time. And that really is probably why the program is so well recognized globally. More than 25,000 firms employ charter holders around the world, and that ranges from the really large international investment houses to medium-sized and sometimes national or regional companies, right down to very small family firms or individual consultants working on their own. So a big range of people, big range of roles and big range of employers who employ charter holders and people who've taken the route that you're considering at the moment. We have a lot of affiliated universities, and I won't dwell on that for the time being, but affiliation is a way that we recognise the alignment of the content of your programme with what we do. I think from the introduction you've heard already, I think there's quite a lot of alignment already between the program there at IEB and also the CFA program. So that's something that we like to recognise so that employers and also students yourselves can see the connection. We also recognise the CFA program is recognised by a lot of regulators, financial regulators, and that's important because in most financial centres you have to demonstrate your competence to practice, that you have the skills, the knowledge, and also actually the ethical commitment to work in that particular location. So CFA level 1 in particular is recognised by many regulators as evidence of competence to allow you to practice in that particular location. Next slide, please. Thank you. Greetings from CFA Society Spain. I'm not from CFA Society Spain, but our colleagues at the Society certainly wanted to say hello. They're a long-established society. The headquarters are in Madrid, have 180 nearly 1,000 members actually, and there are more than nearly 3,000 candidates for the CFA program in Spain generally. If you go to their website, you can learn about all the things that the Society does. But it's, as I said before, it's a great way of meeting practitioners actually based in Spain, working for the top employers. It's a great way of learning from people who have expertise that you might not yet have or a little bit further along in their careers. And the next slide. A few of the activities a bit more focused on students. So for members, there are a lot of webinars, conferences, and some social events. And candidates and students particularly, we have the CFA Institute Research Challenge competition, which is a great and it's a global and very well recognized competition around the world where groups of students from universities participate and compete to do an analysis of a particular company, show their findings, show their analysis to a board of experienced practitioners, and then they grade and they choose the winner, and those people then proceed to the European final, and then finally a global final, which happens in New York. So it's a high-profile competition. Those are the winners from last year. There's also the Quant Awards. So if you have a very strong interest in quantitative finance, there's a competition available from the Society. If you want to if you've done some unique research as part of your degree, you can put that forward as a competition in quantitative finance. The Society also offers preparation courses, and I think the university does too. So I won't dwell on that. Next slide, please. Thank you. And again, so the CFA program itself, probably the main thing to talk about is its extreme growth. It's grown and grown and grown, particularly in the last 10 years. So you can see financial year 2020, we had more than 250,000 candidates. So a lot of people sit for the exam or register for the exam, but I'm afraid they don't all pass. It's a notoriously difficult exam, and I'm sure that the people following me are going to agree with that. They've sat through it. It's not easy. It's very broad. There's a lot of content. And unfortunately, the pass rates are not great at level 1, not because we want it that way, but because quite a lot of people approach the exam not quite prepared enough. So for those who prepare adequately and give it enough time, it's a very manageable program, but it does need time commitment. Next slide, if you could. Thank you. A lot of people, and this is true of the CFA Charter, but also of finance careers generally. It's something of a global passport, and you'll find that people manage to take up job opportunities in financial centres around the world, and it's a very attractive part of this kind of career that once your qualifications are recognised, and the CFA program can help with that, you are quite likely to get opportunities in other financial capitals. Many of our members have worked in London and also Madrid and also in Frankfurt and New York, and have spent periods of time around the world. So it's a great career choice if you have if you like to travel and like to be based in other countries. Another slide. Thank you. Just the charter itself, I've probably covered this really, but it's been seen for a long time as a gold standard, sort of the top qualification for people in the industry in a way of entering the industry and progressing in the industry. Ethics is fundamental to the CFA program, fundamental to membership and also the exams themselves, actually, membership. So you'll find ethics running through everything that we do and ethical awareness. I've mentioned the global passport. Now, practice. The CFA program is just as the program that's being described, the master's program being described this evening. The CFA program is also very strongly grounded in practice, the actual skills, the actual knowledge that you need in the workplace. So yes, there's some theory there. Of course, you need the basic theories, but it's not a highly theoretical program. It's more to do with learning exactly what you need to progress and do well in the workplace. So it's grounded in practice. All of our content, all of our exam questions are checked by practitioners to make sure that they're relevant and accurate around the world. It's a prestigious network of members. We have some very senior members of the Cfa Institute in very senior positions around the world. And it's a great way of meeting people who've had some more experience than you, who can give advice. Many people gain career advancement through the people they've met through networking in, for example, the Spanish Society. We have a lot of career resources, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. So next slide. Okay, very quickly, the content there. So we have the CFA program, we have ethics and professional standards all the way through. Then you've got the investment tools there, quantitative methods, economics, financial reporting and analysis, corporate finance, and then the main asset classes there, equity, fixed income, derivatives, alternatives. And then that comes together at the end in portfolio management and wealth management, where you bring together all of that knowledge and all of those skills to balance a portfolio. Next slide. And quickly, really, it's a 3-level program, and you can see there's a progression as you go through from level 1 to level 3. You have to pass all of the exams. We don't have any waivers or exemptions, I'm afraid. So every charter holder has passed all 3 levels. There's more of a focus at the beginning at level 1 on investment tools. You can see there quantitative methods, economics, and so forth. A big section on financial reporting. Level 2, there's a bit more focus there on asset classes, and then at level 3, as I say, it's a bit more of a holistic approach where we're looking at all of those other things and seeing how to balance a portfolio, how to give well-balanced advice in a wealth management scenario. Next slide. Yeah, to get the CFA charter and have CFA as your designation, you need to have already passed your degree, your bachelor's degree, or be in the final year. You have to enroll, and then you register for each exam in turn, and you have to pass them, of course. And at the end, once you pass level 3, you have to also demonstrate 3 years of relevant work experience before you get the charter. So there are some people who've passed level 3 and are waiting to get the charter, just building up a little bit more work experience. But if you're doing a master's in finance at the moment, you're in a really good position to do well in the CFA program. I've mentioned it's very tough, but if you're already covering these same topics, you're putting yourself in the best possible position to do well in this program. Another slide there. Keys to success, and I said already, really, it does need a lot of study time. It typically takes people 3 to 4 years to complete. You may do that faster if you're studying finance at master's level. A lot of people do. They manage to do it a little bit faster, but 3 to 4 years is typical, and about 300 study hours for each of the 3 levels. The curriculum, the CFA curriculum that you're given as part of signing up for the program, that is the source of truth. All the exam questions are based on that curriculum. So if you've read the CFA curriculum, you shouldn't have any surprises in the exam. We have an e-learning platform. It's called the Learning Ecosystem, which is quite sophisticated and has lots of quizzes and tests and helps you time your study and shows you where your weaknesses and strengths are. And tests and practice exercises, all available when you register. Okay, a little bit more on careers and jobs. We go to the next slide. And here's a senior practitioner, I think from Korea in this case, who's pointing out that a lot of employers will encourage you to take the CFA program. Some of them are looking for it before they recruit, and others are looking for people who've begun the CFA program or can show that they're committed to doing it. And some companies will help fund. They will actually pay the fees or give you study time. Others don't. Usually the larger firms are able to do that, and that's great. But you'll find a lot of firms are very encouraging if you've committed this way. You can see the pass rate there. I think I've already talked about that, but it's often below 50% for CFA level 1. But as I mentioned, that's really because of a lot of people who attempt it who haven't done adequate preparation. So it's not really about it being impossibly difficult. It's more to do with there being a lot of broad topics that need to be covered, and it needs the time that it needs. Thank you. The next slide. Yeah, so the roles that charter holders typically take or aim for, portfolio manager is the most common job role held by CFA charter holders, but there's quite a range of other job roles as well. Research analyst as well. A lot of people start in research analysis and move into portfolio management. That's quite a common career progression. And so forth. You can see consultants, risk management, relationship management, quite a range actually of job roles. Next slide. So these are the top employers of CFA charter holders around the world, and you'll see all the big names you probably expect to see there: JP Morgan Chase, Royal Bank of Canada, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and so forth. Also some firms with European heritage. You can see UBS there, and Credit Suisse and so forth. You'll also notice the top accounting firms, the big four. So you can see that Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they're also big employers of CFA charter holders. The next slide, we can see charter holders in Spain, and you can see that profile changes a little bit to the local market. So you can see BBVA is the biggest employer of charter holders, Santander, as you might expect, and so forth. So a bit of a change of employers in the top employers of charter holders when you move into to the Spanish market particularly, but you're still seeing there KPMG and Ernst & Young, the big accounting firms, are still big employers. And just a few job adverts that show this seeking for charter holders, not necessarily completing charter holders, but people committing to be on that route. Thank you. Next slide. Now we have some material on our website that may help you for career planning for students. If you go onto the CFA Institute .org and look for career planning and the career centre, you'll find this. We've got a bunch of materials there. There's videos and statements from people giving advice on how they got on in their careers, what steps they took, tips for tips and advice. There's a kind of a 5-stage career planning process on that website. So you've got preparing for your career, exploring opportunities, actually how to apply for jobs, the interview, tips on interviews, and then progressing in the workplace. And that brochure that you see there, with the lady on it with career planning for students, that's a downloadable brochure. There's a lot of terminology around job roles and different kinds of activities and different skills needed for different activities in the industry. It can be quite confusing if you haven't worked in the industry for a while. So feel free to download this leaflet. It's a kind of set of short explanations of what the different kinds of job roles are, and I think it might be useful if you're considering where you'd like to go next in your career when you finish the master's program. And the next slide. And a few other things changing in the industry. If we go to the next slide. So a couple of big influences on the industry that may affect you. So one is fintech. That's been growing and developing over decades, but very fast growing at the moment. So more than 7,000 fintech startups happened in this region in EMEA just in 2020, and the global spend on fintech is expected to be more than 300 billion US dollars by 2020, investment in the technology. And that ranges from cryptocurrency, algorithms, use of big data, artificial intelligence, the whole range. Bitcoin, very much in the news at the moment, is only one of 6,000 active crypto assets out there. So it's a huge influence on the industry. We don't expect at Cfa Institute to train people to be IT specialists, but we do think it's important to have enough knowledge of what's going on to, for example, manage a team of IT specialists that may be supporting your work, or be able to see the risks and also the opportunities, but also the risks that fintech can bring you in your role. So it's quite good to have that background, even if you don't consider yourself an IT specialist. We have some content on that in the CFA program. You can see a couple of examples. There's reading that on machine learning, on big data projects. But I'll also want to point out, and this is free for you, you can download this free as students on our website, the Research Foundation part of our website. This one that you can see at the front there, artificial intelligence in asset management, is a great overview of how artificial intelligence is being used in the industry. Just go onto our website, you can find it in a few clicks. There's a whole range of free downloadable publications based on practitioner experience and the experience of our own members. And you can download it as a PDF. It's free, great way to add a little bit of practitioner perspective to an essay or a project you might be doing as part of your master's program. If you can add a little bit of practitioner insight from this. It's all free, available. It's downloadable as a PDF in about 3 or 4 clicks. So help yourselves. And we cover every kind of area of the industry. So whatever you're doing, there may be something of interest to you. The next slide, please. Another huge impact on the industry at the moment is ESG, environmental, social and governance investing. This has very much come from a key driver has been climate change, so the environmental side of that, but also social and governance. So it's coming really from investors who want to make sure that they're investing their money in clean, worthwhile industries. They want to invest in companies that are doing good to the planet and not damage. And this has been a huge trend, massive trend. So 1/3 of assets under management are now considered sustainably invested. And that's driven by investors demanding that their money is spent in that way or invested in that way. European sustainable funds increased by 52% just in 1 year in 2020 to 1.1 trillion euros. So huge shift in the emphasis in the industry. 85% of our members say that they now have to consider ESG in the way that they choose investments for their portfolios. And on the next slide, you can see an example of this. So this is an opportunity as well, I think, for you as you go into the industry. So this is from LinkedIn. These are LinkedIn profiles, and you can see we've got over 1 million LinkedIn profiles in the investment profession. Looking at the top row there, portfolio manager, 146,000 LinkedIn profiles. Only 1.5% of those profiles actually claim to have sustainability and ESG, environmental sustainability skills in their background on their LinkedIn profiles. If you look at postings on LinkedIn, so adverts for jobs, what people are asking for, 18% of them, and growing, 18% are asking for those skills from portfolio managers. So that's a very big gap in what people currently know about and what the industry needs them to know about. And I think that's a career opportunity. If you put a lot of focus on ESG, you're going to be very employable in the future world of investment. Okay, and the next slide. And just to say the same thing really again, there is ESG content in the CFA program itself, but also you can download our own reports on this. That one in front is a particularly good one, Future of Sustainability Investment Management. It's a really good overview if you want to get an overview of what's happening in the industry. It's like a status quo publication. If you have your phone with you, on the next slide, you can just quickly grab that QR code if you want to download it. But if not, don't worry, you can find it quickly on our website. It's not difficult to find, but I do recommend this one. It's very interesting. A lot of very quotable facts and things that you might want to add to an essay or a project that you might be doing on your master's program. So, and another slide. Just very quickly, just to say we've moved the CFA program from paper-based to computer-based testing. You can see an example there, which is a much more modern professional experience. It's not been an easy year for delivering tests, or even, in fact, for delivering exam university programs, let alone tests. So I think you will understand. This is the what it looks like on screen. It's very easy to take these exams. They are always delivered in a proctored and invigilated, highly secure test center. You can't do it at home in your pajamas. It's, I'm afraid, quite a formal process, but this is the screen. It's very easy to navigate. You can see there a multiple choice question. And we have their test centers in Barcelona and Madrid, and others in other parts of Europe. So just to finish there, what can the CFA program bring for you? So it's job marketability, a very powerful combination with a master's program in finance. It'll bring you the skills and knowledge and confidence that you need in your work. Very important to start your careers with confidence in yourself, and also that you have confidence of others as you start. And I think the CFA program can help career acceleration and also development. If you become a member with us, you can learn more and develop more. And global opportunities, it's very much a global career. So thank you very much for listening. I've said quite a lot there, and we can move on. I don't know if you wanted to do questions or move straight
Peter,
on.
no, I was going to mention that. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was quite comprehensive and enlightening for some of us, that although we are familiar with the CFA, but we're not, or in my case, I'm not actively into the CFA. If anybody has any questions at the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A, part, which will take whatever, we'll take any questions that you might want to put forward. Having said that, thank you, Peter. And now let's move to Katia Velasco. Katia Velasco is the Deputy Director of the MIF program, and I've asked her to link the CFA with the MIF because she is not only the Deputy Director of the program, but she's a CFA charter holder. So having said that,
Thank you,
Katia.
Manolo. I hope you can hear me okay, as I'm obviously a little bit on the corner here, but hopefully I can project my voice high enough, as I'm a teacher as well, so I guess I'm used to that. So yes, I've worked actually in the City of London for over 15 years, and actually as a fund manager most of the time. And of course, as such, I had to do the CFA exams, and I became a CFA charter holder in 1999, which was at the time a time where there were no multiple choice questions. Everything had to be answered written, and obviously no computers. We did have a calculator, which is good, but we did have to answer short answers. So that was other times. But also, of course, as Manolo just mentioned, I've been the Deputy Director of the Masters, working alongside Manolo since 2010. And obviously have loved working with Manolo and changing and making sure we adapt the master's degree over time in line with the changes in the industry, which some of which you've highlighted in this presentation. Now, I also teach the CFA, so I am very familiar with the syllabus. I teach levels 1, 2, and 3 in a number of in-house, investment banks or consultancies, or whichever way, whichever my teaching is required. So it is true that I'm familiar with the syllabus. Now, the master's degree is actually, I think, well, apart from being MiFID compliant, which obviously gives you already a recognition as far as the industry is concerned, the master's is actually quite unique in the way that it prepares you for what I think are the two main areas of finance, which is on the one side, the financial markets and things related to financial markets. That could be fund management, could be research analyst, it could be, but it could also be all sorts of investment type activities with the financial markets, but also prepares you for the other side, which is linked. They're both linked, of course, which is more the corporate finance side. So I'm thinking about mergers and acquisitions, private equity, corporate restructuring, all sorts of other activities which are transaction based, and which obviously the master's also prepares you to. So, we do more than 600 hours of work and lectures, and so therefore it's a very thorough preparation for both areas. Now, as far as the CFA is concerned, the master's covers, prepares you, because it's not the same exact same syllabus, but it is based on the same foundations. As far as the CFA level 1, 2, and 3 are concerned, there are a lot of areas that actually meet, such as financial reporting analysis, of course, such as equity investments, fixed income investments, alternative investments, corporate finance. That those would be the areas of the syllabus that we coincide with. But also we cover, as I just said, other areas which are not covered by the CFA, such as in that much depth, such as could be corporate restructuring or M&A or private equity, or risk management, or other areas such as perhaps regulation. Now, when I say that, of course, I mean in more depth, because all these areas are covered by the CFA syllabus in one way or another, or mentioned at least in, as you said, Peter, because these are areas of finance that are very important areas. But we actually go obviously more depth, because we have many hours that we can spend looking at these things, and particularly in a practical way. Now, I think, therefore, when you do the master's, and particularly if you don't know yet what area of finance you want to end up working in, it gives you a door to all these different areas. And I think the fact that you cover, or we cover most of the syllabus, really helps then in preparing the exam. Now, we know that the exam is difficult, and of course, it's not necessarily always the difficulty of the syllabus, but it's more the sheer amount of information that you have to memorize, and also the fact that you have to practice to do questions in 1.5 minutes, which is always very challenging. And so our students, when they finish the masters, they try and do at least CFA level 1. Oops. Something's happened, or yes? They try and do at least CFA level 1 as quickly as possible after finishing the masters, so that all the information is still fresh. And then they, all they have to do is obviously review and memorize additional syllabus and practice a lot of questions in 1.5 minutes. And they try and do that CFA level 1 as freshly, as quickly, and with the information as freshly as possible in their minds when they finish the masters. And so that is, in a way, something that we are quite happy to see, because as Peter said, I think it's a qualification, having both and having covered all areas of finance, and on top of everything else, having the CFA really opens doors, we think, anyway. So we're very pleased to see that a lot of our students, not all of them, but a lot of our students decide to go ahead and start the CFA adventure when they finish our masters. So I can only agree with Manolo and Peter with all the areas and the things that they've mentioned, and I think all I can say, but of course my students will obviously now intervene, and I'll pass it back to Manolo,
Okay.
and they can tell us their experience, of course, of what I've just said.
Okay, Cadio, thank you very much. And now the credentials part. So we've invited Begoña, Magda, and Eduardo here to tell us a little bit about their experience of doing the MIF, in some cases doing the CFAs, and where you stand, and they can share the experience with you people, you potential candidates to our program, to see that there's a lot of value in doing the MIF and the CFA. Begoña, you want to start?
Begoña is in Frankfurt.
Introduce yourself. When you introduce yourself, what are you doing, and give a little bit of details of your professional development.
Okay, so as you mentioned, my name is Begoña. I'm based in Frankfurt. I work for Morgan Stanley as an associate in counterparty credit risk management. I moved here. Well, by the way, are you able to hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect.
Yes, we can.
So I moved here a couple of years ago from London. I asked to be relocated. I spent another 2 years in London, also in counterparty credit risk, but I've moved different coverage over the years. And I started my career indeed in Morgan Stanley. So when I was finalizing the master, I did the master in international finance back in 2015. When I was finalizing it, I participated in a selection process. Sorry?
It got cut off a little bit, Begoña, that last part. You were participated in a selection process, yes?
Yeah, I participated in a selection process for a summer internship in London in Morgan Stanley. And afterwards, I was offered a full-time position there, where I'm still. I just moved, I just changed locations. So for me, the master offer a great opportunity to, to be able to actually practice, even though you are in a class environment. You really feel like a real work environment in some of the sessions. And in addition to that, I'm not sure how it is working now with Corona, but at my time, there was these trips to Wharton School, Hong Kong and London, and I found that really, really useful in order to, because you're invited to some events where you have the opportunity to speak with very important people. And I found that really, really useful when it came to my interviews, which were the only interviews of my life. And I got the position because I really felt confident with myself, and I felt, I didn't feel intimidated by that people. I think that's thanks to those events and those networking that I was able to make during the master. So yeah, I would say Katia, before she mentioned about there's a lot of things to memorizing. Well, I'm not very supportive of memorizing. I think when you are learning, when you're studying, you have to really focus on learning and understanding. And by doing that, you will drastically reduce the amount of things that you memorize, that you need to memorize. And that will help you to actually remember years after. I took 3 years after I finished my master, before I decided to start the CFA program. And I still found that for level 1, I actually didn't have to open the books much, because most of the master already covered the contents in good detail, so that I could actually go and jump into the practice questions, and I was quite prepared for it. For level 2 and level 3, yeah, of course, I did have to dedicate more time on studying for it. So I didn't have much opportunity to do interviews, but I've had over the last year some opportunities to interview people, especially interns. And there is one thing which I beforehand, I expected every candidate will be prepared to answer. And it's actually something that I found out that people is not really prepared to answer, which is as simple as, why do you want to join a company? Many people do not provide a satisfactory answer to that question, or they don't really, they cannot really demonstrate that they understand what differentiates a company from its direct competitors. So that will be an advice for me when you are looking for job opportunities. Another couple of advices more in order to be successful in your professional career is to be diligent and to be proactive. And that's something you can practice from the moment you're studying. So that's something you can start to do now if you're not doing so yet. So I took, just to finalize, so I had the experience to do the 3 exams of the CFA program. I'm still a level 3 candidate because I'm awaiting for the results of the exam I took last week. The changes are quite significant. I think the experience of this exam with very limited amount of people with a super comfortable chair in a computer-based compared to the massiveness of the London exams, because the other 2 exams I took them in London, the thousands of people, I think the experience is very different. I'm not sure which one I prefer, but certainly, you still have to acquire the same knowledge. CFA requires a commitment. It's time consuming, but it's achievable. It's something that you have to dedicate time, and you have to work on understanding as much as possible so that you decrease the amount of knowledge that you have to memorize, and you improve your chances to actually remember that years after. And yeah, finally, just to reiterate, be diligent, be proactive, and while you're studying, don't really struggle about finding a great opportunity and a great job opportunity. Focus on learning, on making the most of your learning experience, and especially for those of you who are open to work abroad, the opportunities are there, and the talent can be seen from the first interview. So focus on getting the right formation, the right knowledge, and things will come if you just do your best and you work hard on everything you do.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thanks,
Begoña.
Begoña.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your presentation, your sharing your experience and the hints you've provided to the students. So thank you very much. Now, Eduardo, it's your turn.
Yeah, okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Manuel. I'm working in PwC right now here in Madrid. I'm in the Risk and Regulation department as a senior consultant. And it's been 3 years now since I left MIFT and started working in PwC. And I've been in all kind of projects, working on liquidity risk management, solvency, regulation, interest risk, balance book projects. And it's a very broad, we do a lot of things, different things in our department. It's very broad in the things we do. And that's good because I'm replicating what I've been learning in the MIF, because MIF is also very broad. It's a very intense year. It's very intense. You make us work very hard, but for me it was an overwhelmingly good experience, from which I would like to highlight 3 things. There are 3 soft skill things I'm highlighting. The first is that it's in English. It's full-time in English. We all think that we can speak English very well because we watch The Lord of the Rings in English and we can get a coffee. But on my 3 years in PwC, I've worked with colleagues and clients in Germany, in Portugal, in Russia, in Cyprus. That's all in English. And when you're presenting complex ideas, technical ideas, that's not the same as asking for a beer in a restaurant. And yeah, exactly. And I think for a year, if you are studying in English and doing your projects in English and doing your exams in English, that's very useful. Another thing I wanted to highlight is that our teachers are all practitioners. We are used to studying in the university where teachers are more focused on the academic side of things. And when you have a teacher that knows what's really happening and what's the real implications of what they are teaching, that is that's very good for us, because it really prepares you for what's out there, no? For the big jump from the classroom to the workplace. And the last thing is our colleague students. The MIF is very broad. In the syllabus, you have lots of things, but you also have people from very different backgrounds coming together to study here. You have people from all over the world and from different backgrounds. You have engineers, people who study law, economics, business, and you put them here together for 1 year. Very intense, as I say. So we create a big lasting relationships. And then as the MIF is very broad and the sector is very broad, they all go to different places. So you have people with different background working in different places, but you have that lasting relationship because you've been for an intense year working together. You take the trips. Hopefully they can resume again after the COVID.
Yeah.
And networking is very important. And if you keep in touch with these people, I know these past years we do. I was last Saturday on a wedding. We were eight of us for the MIF, and this weekend I'm having lunch with another group. So it's a great opportunity to make your network in the sector, which is important.
Okay, Eduardo, thank you
you so
very
much.
much for sharing again your experience. And now it's Magda's turn.
Thank you very much. Yes, Manuel said, my name is Magda. And well, first of all, thank you very much to all of you for coming today and to let us share with you this session. I'm very glad to be here. I'm very grateful they invited me and to share my experience with you. And I hope it's very helpful to you. So just to introduce a bit myself, I'm currently working in PwC here as well in Madrid as a consultant, and I've been there for the past 3 years. I don't know what your knowledge about consultancy is, but for those of you who are thinking about applying to a job like this or something similar, I just want to let you know that it's really intensive, but you really learn a lot. As Eduardo mentioned, you work in many projects in every year, and you learn a lot of different topics every time. So yeah, and even internationally, because I've been working, for example, in Albania, and as that mentioned, working in English is not the same as working in Spanish. So you have to be prepared for that. And yeah, I'm really grateful to the MIF because thanks to studying English, I was really prepared. And I would like to highlight 2 things about the masters. First of all, the knowledge you get studying that, because once I was starting my research about different masters, when I decided to want to study masters in finance, for those of you who are like me, that I was not aware about all the opportunities that the finance industry has, one of the things that caught my attention when I discovered MIF is the topics it covers, because it covers from corporate finance to portfolio management and even passing through financial regulation. And yes, you get a really deep understanding during the year. So then you can make a sound decision when you think about the path you want to take in your professional career. So that's really important. It's really important to be informed and to really know what's going on in the real market and in the finance market. And the second one, the second thing I want to highlight, and I'm really proud of, is the way it was structured, and it is. Because during the whole year, you have to work a lot, both individually and in groups. And yeah, it's really helpful and it's really worth it because it prepares you for when you jump to the real world and the job market. because once you start your job, you will have to organize yourself, but you will also have to coordinate your tasks with your colleagues. So studying the MIF helps you to be prepared and to have a preview of what you will find in the future. So yeah, and of course, the experience to travel abroad and yeah, and having the opportunity to have lectures with very important people in different countries such as China or the United States. Yeah, I think that's the most exciting part, and it's really worth it. So I hope it can start again and you can resume doing that. But yeah, and also the relationship, because it's a really intense year in which you learn a lot, but not only financial knowledge, but also how to get on well with people, discuss matters, or even to talk with people. So yeah, you create a really long-lasting relationships with your colleagues, which become friends as well. So yeah, it's really worth it. And yeah, finally, I don't know if you are interested, but about preparing the CFA exam. But yeah, my advice that the MIF is really worth it preparing for that exam. I passed the level 1 of the CFA in 2018, just after finishing the MIF as well, and I've just done the exam for the level 2. So let's hope it goes well. But what I want to highlight here is that the MIF prepares you really well. Because most of the topics you cover in the CFA are already familiar to you once you start studying them, and that's because you already studied them during the MIF. So I don't know if you are interested, but always keep in mind that it takes effort and time and also a lot of commitment. It's really worth it, and it really pays off, especially if you want to travel abroad, because it's a global certificate that really pays off when you are globally and when you're abroad. So yeah, thank you very much. I don't know if you have questions, but feel free.
Thank you, Magda.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, Magda.
everybody, for your
Thanks, everyone.
time. Now, if there's any questions, we're more than happy to answer them.
Can we hear the questions through the?
Oh, yo no veo nada.
No, I can't. We can't see them.
There isn't any? Okay.
Hang on a sec. Okay. If we go to chat, I think it is, but there are no questions. Okay. Okay, yeah, they can write in there. Or maybe we can hear them from the. Okay. Well, this session has been recorded. So if you, if anyone wants to or has come into the session a bit late or wants to listen to the session again, feel free to do so. Okay, and also obviously contact the IB if you have any questions about the program.
Yes, look at the.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we will write down the emails of the people to get in touch with in the
Yes.
chat. Yes.
Yes. Good. So if there's no questions,
No
I think
questions?
this is the end
We've
of
convinced
this.
everyone there's no questions.
But we're here at the IEB. The
Okay.
is writing.
A ver, I can't see
Okay.
without my glasses. It's old age. Oh, instructive. Okay, Tomas, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tomas.
Thank you. And as Katia said, I mean, any questions that you might have about the program, feel free to get in touch with us, and we will be more than happy to clarify any of the doubts that you might have about it. But I do appreciate Peter, and especially my dear students that I've been. Begoña, I hadn't seen you since basically you left. So it's good to see you again, and it's good to hear from you from your experience. And I'm very proud of your professional developments and achievements. So that only that fortifies the MIF program. So, and I do use you people when I interview candidates. You know, I think of you, and I mentioned during the interviews. So thank you very much, and
Thanks to our
hopefully
guest
next time you're here in Madrid. Well, you're from Guadalajara, no?
Yes, but give us a shout.
But give us a shout. Come by.
And
come
Peter,
see us.
Peter as well, if he comes to visit CFA
Yes,
Spain.
Peter.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, as soon as
I mean,
possible.
I thought you were UK, but you said that you're EMEA, so you might be dropping by Madrid. So if you do that, let us know.
I
Okay.
promise to. I will do that.
Thanks,
Thank you for
everyone.
having me.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks to our
Thank you very
guest
much.
speakers.